know the truth about Martin Luther King? His name wasn't even Martin Luther King. He was born Michael King Jr. in 1929. King Jr. officially changed his name on his birth certificate later around age 28. He wasn't a real organic revolutionary, he was a plant. King and Rosa Parks both trained at the Highlander Folk School, a key activist training center shortly before the bus boycott, and King also being involved with Highlander, cementing their connection as leaders in the civil rights movement. And King didn't write those damn speeches like you thought he did. Stanley David Levison, a close advisor and confidant of King, was one of the key people who helped draft the I Have a Dream speech. And you know, black people love to support these goofies. Michael King was a supporter of Zionism, viewing Israel as a democratic outpost and affirming its right to security and existence, rooted in his understanding of liberation and self-determination. King was a puppet and his ventriloquist was a juicy. Juicy individuals and organizations significantly funded and supported Michael King and the civil rights movement, providing crucial financial backing, legal support, and high-profile endorsements with leaders like Rabbi Abraham Josiah Heschel marching alongside King, and groups like the American Juicy Congress and NAACP, which is a juicy organization, partnering with King's Southern Christian Leadership Conference and other black organizations. In the 1989 autobiography, And the Walls Came Tumbling Down, Ralph Abernathy wrote that Michael King spent parts of his final night alive with two women and had an encounter with the third, whom he fought. He was having orgies and beating up bitches.
This is Jeremiah 23 and 25. I have heard that the prophets said that prophesied lies in my name, saying, I have dreamed. Kahala Yahweh Bashem Yoshai Bashem Rakokordash. The Lord is my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, who the house of David be born again in this generation. And shalom to the 130 Yasharallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing our true heritage, we were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about Martin Luther King, as today is MLK Day. I didn't even know this until I was driving home and there was just no traffic, which is great because, you know, this is a government holiday. That's probably like the best thing about the MLK Day. The rest, as you can see, was, for the most part, it was AstroTurf. It was a fake movement that this man here, this Israelite man, joined himself onto because he thought he could more likely get something. Okay, what I just read was a scripture, right? That the Lord basically, rebukes these false prophets, right? And how fitting that it says this part. Right, because again, one of Martin Luther King's famous speeches, which he did not write, an Amalekite, a so-called Jewish man, wrote for him, is his "I Have a Dream" speech. Okay, where he goes on to basically tout the benefits of an integrated society. Okay, and the thing is that people are realizing now that integration is not the best thing for our people. Okay. And we as Israelites and Negro, Latino, Native Americans, we understand this very clearly. Okay, at least those that are on the know. There's a lot of our people who are brainwashed by this we're all one people, everybody loves everybody, you know, that type of spirit, where they think integrating with other nations is a good thing. Okay, but you got to remember, the Bible has made it very clear that the Lord has always broken up people who come together in mass like that, right? The first instance was during the Tower of Babel, when Nimrod, the first rebellious king about 200 years after the flood, he brought all the nations of the people together. Now, at that time, there was about 600 people, or 600,000 people upon the face of the earth, right? But the whole point being is that the Lord didn't like it, and he split it up, okay? And he divided the world's tongues, you know, to different languages, and hence created the confusion there that Babel is referenced as. Now, that being said, the leaders of the world have always tried to bring the people of the world together, and that's because there's real power behind this. And in this case here, the people that were behind MLK, they wanted to bring together a nation, or a melting pot together. Again, a melting pot is another term coined by these Amalekites, who wanted to bring in integration into America, or basically the whole race mixing. This is the same reason today why you see, whenever there's advertisements, you'll always see a white father and a Judite woman, or a Judite male and a Edomite woman, and vice versa, right? There's never a single race group that's like in popular advertisements. Now, if you don't believe me, and again, I didn't think such a big deal of this in the beginning, but when you start looking at like real big stores ads, you'll continually see that they are always using mixed couples. Okay, and why is that? Well, because Amalek, the Small Hatters, they love to mix the races. Okay, now why is that? Well, because one, they're trying to hide themselves, and in hiding themselves amongst the people, they can be harder to detect. Okay, a good example of this is if you look at Jesse Smollett, right? A lot of people would think he was a so-called black man, right? But in truth, he is an Amalekite. He's a Small Hatter. Right? His dad's an Israeli, and his mom is a Judite. Okay, and this is the same thing that Herod, King Herod, did. Right? His father was an Edomite, and he married a Maccabean woman. Okay, and they try to use her position within the nation of Israel, the tribe of Judah, as a reasoning that Herod, her Edomite son, was, had the rights to the throne of the kingdom of Judah. Okay, but again, this is, I'm digressing. That's another lesson for another time. Right now, we're speaking about this evil man, MLK. Now, let's read this. This is 1 Maccabees 1:11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. And that's what happened. Okay, that was Martin Luther King's claim to fame, because you see, he was just like many other Judite reverends, during his time. I'm sure he was out there trying to do a good thing for his people, right? He's trying to make connections, trying to raise the Judites out of their poverty. Right here you got what's this guy's name? Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jesse Jackson, another grifter who was friends with Martin Luther King, right? Just happened to be here on that fateful day, and then he basically shot it up to stardom and basically took over his dead friend's political ambitions. Okay, and he continued the defiled legacy of MLK by integrating the tribe of Judah into America. Okay, I want to say, I think it was him it was either him or Al Sharpton. I think it was Jesse Jackson who came up with the term African American. Okay, bringing more confusion to our people, right? How the heck can you be named after two continents, right? Two Edomites from different time frame, or times in history. But either way, just as Martin Luther King got his marching orders from Amalek, and what propaganda to push out to the people, so does Reverend Jesse Jackson. Okay, this is why these people were pushed so heavily within the community. Okay, these people didn't get up there by themselves. They simply met people. So there you go. So Martin Luther King met the right Amalekites, right? He happened to be the civil rights leader who just happened to have the right connections, which led him to Amalek's doorsteps. Okay, and because of that, what did Amalek do? Just as, and it's very obvious these days, since the Nobel Peace Prize is given out to any despot and any devil out there who needs to be praised for the moment. Okay, so we know that this Nobel Peace Prize is simply just a tool of Amalek to bring recognition and credibility to a subject. And in this case, Martin Luther King received this. And I'm sure Martin Luther King was, head over heels and, thought he really was going to make changes. But little by little, what happened? Well, Amalek and his persuasion happened. And this is where you get things like this, right? Israel must exist and has right to exist, and is one of the great outposts of democracies in the world. Okay, peace for Israel means security, and we must stand with all of our might to protect its right to exist, its territorial integrity, and the right to use whatever sea lanes it needs. Right? So this is all straight up fucking political jargon. Do you think Martin Luther King came up with this? No. These are talking points given to this fucking idiot by Amalek, right? I see Israel as one of the great outposts of democracies in the world. A marvelous example of what can be done, how desert land can be transformed into an oasis of brotherhood and democracy. Peace for Israel means security, and that security must be a reality, right? And these devils are doing it till this day, right? So when you have all these jakes out there, right, pushing their Judeo-Christian, views and everything, just understand that in their pocket is a bunch of money soiled by the hands of Amalek. Why is that? Well, let's read that again. In those days there went out of Israel wicked men. You see, and just like in those days, back in the time of the Greek captivity, is the same as today. Okay, there is many wicked people amongst our nation who will sell our people out. And the thing is that in this case, it was a new thing. Okay, this was a new movement that was popping up, something that Amalek needed to get off the ground. So hence he needed puppets, and Martin Luther King was one of those puppets. Okay, because you see, just as this period here during the 50s, 60s is when the Lord was raising up the spirit of Israel. Okay, this is why you got the Black Panthers, the Brown Berets, and the One Nation movements of all our people, right, starting to wake up. But these movements, they had one thing in common: they didn't have God behind them. Okay, this is why they were all secular empowerment movements. Okay, this is why they all ultimately failed, and that's because these Edomites, they understood what was happening, and what did they do? Well, just like everything else, they weaponized the movement. And between these two men, they seen in Martin Luther King somebody that they could work with. Unlike Malcolm X, this guy was going to be a problem, and hence this is why they killed Malcolm X. This is why they basically blackballed him, and they basically made his teachings to be not as popular as Martin Luther King. Okay, these were the two devils. Now MLK ultimately he went full force for Amalek, right? These Israelis. Okay, now he ultimately woke up in the end, just like a modern person today, Charlie Kirk. They kind of woke up towards the end of their brief career, realized that they messed up. And what happened? Well, Martin Luther King, after going out and making all these speeches and elevating to popularity, well, you heard in the video, he started to crash out. Okay, he ultimately was involved in all these things, orgies. There's even rumors that he was a homosexual. But the point being is that with the way Amalek blackmails people, I wouldn't doubt that was simply part of a ritual that they had to have him do to get the power that he was looking for. Now that being said, let's read this. Ecclesiasticus 7:7. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart. And that's what happened. Like I said, these sayings here, which are obviously geopolitical statements cooked up by Amalek, these were done because Martin Luther King got gifts. Okay, he was given the notoriety and the special treatment that he believed. I bet you that he could make work for him, right? He more likely believed he could make a deal with the devil and could come out of it clean. But what he didn't know is that not only are these Amalekite devils straight up devils, but the rest of these Edomites are devils. Okay, this is J. Edgar Hoover, in reference to people like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Right? He says there will never be another Black Messiah unless we create him. Okay, and that's what happened. Okay, Martin Luther King was a production of Amalek and Esau that he wanted to put to the southern kingdom of Judah, right? The so-called Negroes, to integrate them into Babylon the Great. Okay, to integrate them into Americans' ways better. Because why? Well, because you see, what happened was, like, during the time when Martin Luther King was in power on his heyday, they couldn't the so-called black family was a very strong unit. The tribe of Judah and all, the Southern Kingdom tribes, they had a lot of integrity, and they were a very strong family unit that couldn't be broken up. But what happened? Well, Esau couldn't have that happen. So after they wiped the slate clean, they got rid of Malcolm X, they got rid of MLK, and they got rid of, was it Huey Newton or whatever, the guy who ran the Black Panthers, and all these revolutionaries. They satiated Cesar Chavez in the farmers movement. They basically bought his ass out. But basically, once Esau went through and took care of those revolutionaries, what did he do? Well, he got into the art of cultural creation. Okay, this is where they started making all that cultural degeneracy for Judah. Okay, hence the rap. What was it? The crack epidemic of the 80s, the rap music, all that stuff that basically destroyed the tribe of Judah culturally, right, and mentally. That was pushed out because, one, they couldn't control the tribe of Judah through people like MLK. Okay, this is Isaiah 13 and 15. Every one that is found shall be thrust through, and every one that is joined onto them shall fall by the sword. And that's what happened, right? That Martin Luther King, and for whatever reason that he decided to go on this journey, as far as joining himself onto Amalek, I'm guessing it was more likely because he understood that if he gave these people a little bit of what they wanted, right, basically somebody speaking up for their rights and not realizing that this is Martin Luther King's actual heritage. This is his. And what's happening? He's marching and standing with the devils, his arch enemies, who basically have stolen his and his people's identities, and he's doing their will, right? Not realizing that he's joined on to the house of Edom. Now, this is why he would say things like this. Ultimately, towards the end of his career, he says, "I've been to the mountaintop and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you," right? Because he understood he was going to die, man. He knew that these devils weren't going to let him live after the stuff that he did and the things that he knew about them. Then he continues and says, "But I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land." Now, the thing about MLK, I don't know if he understood or comprehended the concept that the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans were, or still are, the Israelites of the Bible. We are the true biblical Israelites. Okay, now I knew Malcolm X, he knew, right? But unfortunately, he joined himself onto Islam because Islam has that air of legitimacy because it so closely resembles Christianity, right? But it's a lot more strict. So people, in being in a state of conjecture, not having all the facts, they will latch on to Islam thinking that that's the righteous religion, not realizing that no religion is righteous, and that in fact you just simply have to come back to your ancient heritage. Well, Martin Luther King, as far as what he knew, as far as if he was an Israelite or not, I'm not sure about that. I couldn't find anything about it other than after his death, over in Israel, the group, the Ben Ami group, the people who came, who went to Israel, basically tried to go back to the promised land, breaking the prophecies of the Bible, right? Basically avoiding the Messiah to return back there. They opened up a school or some building or some small ass little museum to honor MLK and Ben Ami, the spiritual leader of that school, right? And so that's the only thing I know about. But again, this happened after the fact. So as far as did Martin Luther King know that he was an Israelite, I don't know. The truth was out there, and the Abba Bivens was out there, and this truth was out there, right? Now, as far as ultimately did it reach MLK? It probably did, but he probably mistook it for folly and went on his life, and ultimately got stuck in this, right? This is why he said things like this, because he knew he fucked up, right? He says, I've come upon something that disturbs me deeply, right? What is that? Right? He found out that these Edomites are the fucking devils, man. Now, he may not have understood it in that narrative, but he understood that these Edomites, as what he knew them, Caucasians or Israelis or just the white man, he knew that they were the fucking devils, okay? And that they ultimately were using him. Let's continue what he said. We have fought hard and long for integration, as I believe we should have. And see, this is the thing. See, he thinks his success of his people are going to come by intermingling in with these Edomites, okay? Hence, what's that scripture? All right, 1 Maccabees 1:11. Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, or right, since we segregated from them, we have had much sorrow, right? And that ultimately, the crazy thing is that we never really integrated with these Edomites, right? Especially the Southern Kingdom, they had things like Roseville and what was the other town called? Black Wall Street, where they did their own thing, right? They didn't integrate, right? And they did really well, right? So well that Esau had to come in and basically put an end to that, right? And the thing is that this is why you had such a huge push for people like MLK, people to bring in the sheep, right? Kind of like when you watch that Nat Turner movie, right, Birth of a Nation, you'll see that they basically paid Nat Turner to go out to basically be the Judas goat for these other slaves, and ultimately get them to like their stations in life. Well, same thing with Martin Luther King. He was being used to do the same thing. So let's continue. And he says, I believe we should have, and I know we will win, but I have come to believe that we are integrating into a burning house. I'm afraid that America has lost the moral vision she may have had, and I'm afraid that even as we integrate, we are walking into a place that does not understand that this nation needs to be deeply concerned with the plight of the poor and disenfranchised until we commit ourselves to ensuring that the underclass is given justice and opportunity. We will continue to perpetuate the anger and violence that tears the soul of this nation. I fear I am integrating my people into a burning house. And that's the truth. Martin Luther King may not have had the gospel truth, but the Spirit on him let him know that this wasn't the right thing to do. That basically let him know that he was in for a problem. And he started to let his feelings show this. Okay, and this is more than likely the reason why Amalek had to get rid of him. This is the same reason why you have people like Charlie Kirk and all these other people who have joined themselves on to Esau, who all of a sudden meant an untimely death, come out and start to speak against the agendas that they used to speak so strongly for. Okay? And Martin Luther King is simply just one of many, not only then, but even now, because when you look today at our people and you look at who is presented to us as our leaders within our people, right? It's comedians, artists, musicians, actors, right? Where's our politicians? Where's our philosophers? Where's our people of our men of letters, right? Those people are not given a platform in Esau's system, because one, he doesn't want our people to have that sphere of influence. Okay, this is why he selects the leaders for our people. This is why all the people who lead our people today, that Black Tyson cop guy who's totally a Zionist sellout, right? He's one person that you're trying to set up as a leader for our people, right? You have so many different people out there who get pushed, right? Bad Bunny, he's getting pushed as a leader within the Latino community and shit, right? Jay-Z, okay, like what the fuck is this guy a leader for, right? He doesn't even help the community and stuff. All he does is fucking make songs and perform freaking wicked rituals, right? See, this is what Esau will allow for our people, right? They allow wicked men to claim the leadership role, right? Sit in the seat of Moses and ultimately mislead and deceive our people. But what does the scripture say? This is Malachi 3:18. Then shall ye return and discern between the righteous and the wicked, between him that serveth God and him that serveth him not. And that's what it is. MLK did not serve the Lord. In fact, he was fighting against the Lord by joining on with these Edomites, and that's why the Lord more than likely put him to death, because of his like it said here, right? What was the scripture? Isaiah 13:15. Because why? Well, because he was joined onto them. Okay, MLK thought he was going to ride these Edomites' coattails into the promised land, not realizing that those were his adversaries. Or who knows? Maybe he did get sat down by a prophet of the day, and that did let him know that they are the Israelites, and that he's ultimately helping out his adversaries, the Edomites. Okay, but ultimately that didn't stop prophecy from playing out, and he did fall by the sword, the gun being the modern day sword, right? So either way, Akim, just wanted to share this on this MLK Day. I know it's towards the end, but either way, I just thought it'd be it's worth saying, because again, we need to understand that the leaders of our people are not appointed by us; they're appointed by our enemies who rule over us. Okay, they're gonna put people in place that are gonna make sure to calm our people down and make our people not do what's best for us, but what's best for these Edomites. So either way, hopefully this video was edifying to Akim. Till the next time, I want to give all honor and glory and praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahshai, Ba'Shem Ruach HaKodesh. Shalom.